Thanks for joining us again on Voices of the South Pacific. I am Seeley Kalepo with King County Public Health. King County Public Health's Office of Equity and Community Partnerships started these Islander talks. I believe this is our sixth one, as we are going to focus on the Samoan community and take a deep dive into mental health, kind of what that means, and kind of define that for our specific island culture. Lupe will be facilitating our conversation, so I just want to pass the mic over to Lupe. Thank you, Lupe.
Thank you, Mr. Seeley. Yeah, whaftai pere no fole tu alo na ngalei mo na lofa. Wa taingo mai la o tu soifua mo tato wola nei yaso. Yeah, tato tala no mai po sauno mai fo itu semta o nei yaso. Thank you, Ms. Harlan, and also Dr. Fimono. We had some surveys that we were doing by the Samoans and the community that we are serving right now. And we have some fascinating questions that they want us to ask. So for your experience and your skills that you're going to help us out to advise them as well for today and for today. So we have a first question that came up, which is, what is mental health in Samoan language and also in our Samoan culture and also in our tradition? O le fesiri o ana o mai e fo inisi o tangata fo e whasoi nai mun le nei a fiafi. Wha mai po le ale so i fua malolo ina le mafo whau i le tato ngangana wha Samoa, le tato wanganuu, o le tū fo i wha Samoa. Ai Saunoa mai. Okay, Ms. Scarlett, I'm going to give you this first opportunity. Please, Saunoa mai.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think when it comes to mental health in the Samoan language and Samoan culture, it's still developing because it's becoming more recognized. And I think we have to also, because there's so many things to take into account when we come to talk about mental health in our culture, because it's not just about just mental health. We also talk about how the spirit, our spirit, the land, the church, the family, the village, the community also plays a role in that as well. And then really continue to unfold how mental health is really viewed in our community. Because a lot of times I think when we think about mental health, and especially in particularly Samoan culture, sometimes we put this under the umbrella of like curses or superstition, or they're too sinful, they're not praying hard enough, they're in the wrongdoing. And I don't want to take that away because that's part of the spirit of who we are. And so, but I want to just know that there's always something underneath that. So when it comes to mental health in Samoan, in our Samoan culture, it's definitely something that's still unfolding and still developing is what I would say to that.
Thank you, Ms. Scarlett. For Dr. Fimono, please, do you have an add into that, please?
Yeah, after Mula no, yeah, Momono, Fatalo Fatu, Maru Samoa, yeah, Momani Pokalami. O mamalu mo pa ia leo o se tala lau ona. Ai whaftai mo le nei whafsili. Ia, pei la wona ta ue le tufina Scarlett. Ia o le mai o mafau fau o se mea umasani i le te lo tātou Samoa. E pei o no ola whi Samoa o se mea na uwa ai fo i le ia inga e fo ia no e foi taulanga pia po whangatongo fo ia ia tinamata maa whape e reanga ulu whenga se tulau lava le ngana ai e peo o le se mea e kake ola foi Samoa ke wa ai e whenga ai pe e kake le mamalama ke le iai Pe o whaasoa mai le sister ia Scarlett. I te le anga nu, e whaapea you know, e alu ele lotu, whaapea o le alu le loku, pe o le po whaapea o ngi mala whainga le, whaapea o le amanga ia pe se mea whaapea ngā. E oso fo o me e kukupu kongo a inga, whaapea se mai e mawhawhau se a inga, e a inga whainga le ke wa ai e whaaso solo mai halo e koku. Ai, ke le rawa le mea ngau whaalongo, e whaapea whainga le o le ia iku pangi mea whapenga kusala loa u whakasi le ia mai ia mea ka ke i kala anga mua sa moa e kama whai whape o ngia iku po le kinge sa i o se mea whapenga e lo ianga ala o langa ola whi sa moa o le mea ngau wa ai mo i longa ia ngau sa ia Amerika mo wa lu ia on whafo mai o silingia po lale me o le depression po lale anxiety o ngai ka kile ma sangi e whengali i le ola fo Samoa e ke e o susu e kunga ia o mai e le whapea o Samoa e moa ia po whea lava lang a kungu ngai ola i whai po o se pālang mea uli i sainga e lava mai o mawhawhau e pe o le mea ngā le ka kanoa gaming i le i ka kova ai fo e wha Samoa i ke leongi mai pa pe o kango Scarlett o langa specialty nga o le va ia e pe o le forma i o kingo ia e le anganga e fo le ola le anganga ka ma fo faula o sala ki le fenga ku se ia va enga ia ke le o me e pa lengi fo le me ko lu ia o langa ka sa mo e le pa lengi ia o mo la i mai fa pe ia so aku ngai le visili
Tai lava mo Saunoa, tai fo Scarlett. Ona le fi tau tu atu fo e tu sai fo e mai Saunoa fo e lo sunga fo mai fo mono. I fo mai o le mena e tanga i ai ma e mon mawina e ala le vai. Ia o au mai ai la ofisili lo na lua fa mon mone ma lava sta wai. O ala ni fa fi tau rio so fo malo lo ina ma fo fau. E mawhai na lipotia pena e tanga e fo o lipotia e ta ua mai ini lewa ainga o tangata Samoa o tato ainga Samoa wa newa o whalongolongo atu foi o nisi o whaafitau i whaal mawhau o tato tangata wa afi ai o tato tangata wa le mautonu ai foi pe o whalongolongo atu i le Saunoa sunga fo mai ia Scarlett. For me, as I was trying to follow through for what you have seen for our people back in the days and nowadays, what are the main factors that these problems, the mental health problems that are most reported in the facility or about Samoan people, as far as you see, and what triggers it? Because far as I hear, but just by listening it, some are superficial stuff, like Ms. Scarlett was saying. But is there any other way that you can let us know, or what are the main factors of the mental health problems that triggers this kind of behavior?
I think what triggers mental health really is just, there's honestly so many factors that play a role in this. So it could be low income, unemployment, food scarcity, lack of education in regards to, just health in general. So there's just really just inflation and even with our culture, meeting the family needs and also the village needs. Mm-hmm. So there are all that factor into what triggers mental health challenges in our community, because even a lot of those needs can veer off into getting into substance abuse, domestic violence, sexual abuse. The reality is everyone's story is different. There's no real one generality of it. And so it takes you coming to see a specialist, therapist, psychologist, counselor, whatever that, a social worker, to actually address what actually triggers what's going on in particular mental health in an individual, rather than always just looking at the scope of everything when it comes to really talking about mental health challenges.
Thank you.
Yes. Lupe, and just a follow-up for Scarlett, for folks, I know Scarlett, obviously, but for folks who are watching, it's like, Scarlett, who are you? Who do you work for? folks might want to, hire her.
Yes, thank you, Celia. I greatly appreciate it. So I'm Scarlett. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a boundaries coach. I've been in this field, the therapy field, for 10 plus years. I'm also the owner of Elevate Healing. And so that's who I am just in the short run. So again, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a boundaries coach. And this is my passion, and this is what I do, talking about mental health, not only just in general, but especially for our Pacifica and our Samoan communities.
Thank you, Ms. Scarlett. Thank you, Mr. Seeley. I was going to put her in my next question so that people can confirm about what the studies and what is her profession. But thank you so much. We did not left them out. Dr. Fimoana?
Yeah, whakatau lava mo whawhasiri pe ona Saunoa Scarlett. E re tasi se mea e maafua ai. E wa ai e a whape e saule mai ka kanua koe le fo mai po le ale mafuanga. E re whape ngau se mea e kasi ai pe o kufa kasinga o ni mea wa mamafa ili mafofau o le mai. Pe o ngā kako wa ai la kuangu Samoa. E kele me whai Samoa. Ia o whaala me lawe o mea o le loku. Ia o mali o whai pōponga ia wale loa e kangaka whawhasenga po lal me la whai. E pe o kele ngā o mea i ka kikilo i e mafu ai le mai ilma fofau. Orisi kulanga ia o pe o whai aku le kemi o sola e mai ko kongo ainga a wha pe o se mai whenga le kongo la ainga. E kusala pe le ingi mea whenga le e kukupuli kangaka. E pa wala o le opa lengi ia le mafofau. Ia o le mea langa e kere ngā e sau e wa ai fōma. Ngā i rea i o le mai e diagnosis fōma. Ia e la wha e vai la au ma wha la au e whaonga e fōma e wha pālengi me i o le pālengi le mafofau ka le based on the diagnosis. Pe o le diagnosis leo ke roe tākele i Samoa le mai le schizophrenia. E pe o le mea whanga le pe o le anga le ulu pe o wa ai aku I mea e wa ai isis ia o mea ngā le wha pe ka ko Samoa mai e iku whanga le. E ia le mai ka o schizophrenia o le pālengi ia le mafofau. Mea ranga e whala au e whai fōma inga konfike ia mai wha pe. Ia o le mea voi o le smailo depression po le whangongoa le wha Samoa. Wha pe o isis i wa maliu le ainga pe o le leile le va le matua I kamaiki po le lungari I foi venga le waise la e se inga le la mafkanga ia o mea fa pe o soile le fango ia ale como fikira fango po depression e o inga ke le kemi o fa pe o la pole le ola pe lau se fia ke loko le kele o kupulanga o pule soifua. So o mea whape, so ere lau kari pupu aku, ere whape kasi se mea e mafu ingi I mawhawha. Kele mea a wae aku I mea o kaku masangi ka kou Samoa. E kele mea mwhenga whape o le mafuanga lea. E siri eile o lau ia recommendation I kāka. A whape o eise mea I le mawhawha o popole o e po mawhawha eise mai o e maua. Alu vais fo mai. Alu vai Scarlett, ia. Pe alu fo eva ailo primary care doctor ngai ke vai. E ngā maka leo whai test ma me whapenga. Ro e ia I kongo fiki me whapenga. E le whapea fo ngā vai la au. E mwhi ngā ruka ngoi kāka po Scarlett e kana mo iau feelings. So ngā le kum whai open up. Ia ois fo ia wala I mwhi ngā fofo ia ma fofo. E le ngā pēr ngā whala au ia pe maka ngo Scarlett I mea loa wango e mwhai ianga a whai e ftusonga I kak Samoa pe amo e mai mawhawhau. Tai lawa.
The first one, and the second one, I can keep my arms together behind my back and go all the way around my head. You see me? I'm just yet. All right, Morgan.
Only that. Seeley?
Oh yeah, no. My question was for Dr. Fuimayono. So I remember as a kid when we had things like this, my mom would take me to the person who fulfills people or gets that out of their system. What are your thoughts about that? But that was true, because we equal. So the ghost or the spirit in us, that person was trying to take it out of us. What are your thoughts on that? Being a medical professional that you are.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with this, right? So I can't sit here and criticize that and say that's the wrong thing, though. But I do recommend is you go see a primary care doctor or a professional first. And then if they can't help you, though, then that would be the last resort. And I've seen that happening. So my recommendation is for a lot of people who have mental health problems, because it's such a really bad disease, though, because it ends up causing suicidal thought and you might harm yourself, to go see a professional first before you consider other Samoan, traditional stuff, though. I grew up in that mentality where a lot of people think it's related to a ghost or a kaula'asea, tenesa or something like that. But, I would recommend you go see if there's a medical problem first before you resort to traditional stuff. So.
Bring Santa back to the Northwest.
Thank you.
Hey,
Lupe. Hi, Lupe.
Siniva Jiggers, thank you. I see now Niva that is joining in. Thank you, Siniva, and also Principal King. Okay, sorry, I've just now seen you guys profile. Welcome. We're on the questions. Sharing out what are the factors of the mental health problems that are most reported, and what has been said for the Samoan families, and what triggers it. And we can continue on, and Ms. Charlotte has already shared about different factors, and then also with Dr. Malik, and then Ms. Neva, please, and Saunoa Mai for.
Yeah. Are you guys,
after introducing
you
yourself?
guys can see me?
Yes, we can now.
Okay. Well, actually, I don't know Scarlett. I know Dr. Fuimayono, but I thank you for coming in for the invitation. Oh, olo ingo siniba tosi triggers. Well, I call myself a community health worker. Wau o tino for my retire. So whainga luenga ili whalemai ala BA for tolu school tausanga. Yeah, what we retire la so lole community serve the community. So that's what I'm doing right now. And me and Lupe are doing that community service in our Pacific Islander, and anybody else come for help. So, mental health in Samoan language. Yeah. I'm an old fashioned because I am a baby boomer. I was in the nursing in the 60s. So that's how far I go. Au whainga luenga I whalmai, o avea amatein for mai, o te lei whalongo lava is a mental health. Te lei whalongo au e eini mai Samoa e avatul for whalmai e maua e leanga leulu. Ai e loa e iei mai whapena, tangata wa matutua ifo, ai taula e tato tangata e leanga ulu. Whapena, au se upu whapea e diagnosis Samoa o se mental health ele i whalongo langa au iai. Au leo ua tele tangata matutua, tangata whiololo la iti, ua iai Samoa, ua maua ua tau on mental health. Ai, peo no whaiatu, ele eise mea whapena na o whalongo ain ma o vai e whale mai. Ai iai mai whapena sa iai ina vai taimi. Pe on Saunoa le sunga for mai, iai tangata e taulawa e tātou o tangata e leanga ia ulu. Ai ese la mea e mafuai o isi na whapena mai ana o whana o mai o la iti, o la e lava o whapena ia o matutua, ia o tweet lava e a inga lato whapea ua leanga le ulu. Ai le loa le leipo le ale mafuanga, whapena ia na whai. Ia o mai i le tele o isi tau sanga o sui mai, pe umala o le mel na o te tawe au ia is a generational knowledge of mental health. O le winga o la whamatalanga generational health, mental health, langa ese tato tupulanga ma mai e o mai ai, mai sele mai ma faufa. A waso fo ina, o tele o tangata matutua, no vai iai. E se asa wa ista mai titi e papeleanga o tangata matutua o lola tu tausanga. Na iai mai whapena. Ia I treat lava e a inga lato. They treat them respectfully. They treat them like Samoan culture. Respect them. Ai se upu whape, i se for my mental health i Samoa. Ele iai se mea whapena. Au lea la wo mai tato i le generation lea. Everything kind of changed. Mea uma o sui, ai tato i loa leo tato wo mai nei Amerika. Wa maua tato le malamalama o le mental health. Ai ona i o tato tangata Samoa. Ia ele se loa tele o mai whapena. O le mental health, o le mai o le mafau. E au fia ai mame o le tino. A fact lo mafau ia o lo tino atoa wa whaina. A wa o ina mafau e au mai ei filfilinga, e au mai ei lo wiloa, o le ale mafuanga na e o lai, o le ale o filfilinga, o le ale o me fai pea e matua ifo, o le ale lautali tonunga, o le a mea whapena o le mafau la, o se mea pita sili na taua. O le mafau fo i la, o ia na te whaia mea e ngai o iei le tino. Ia. O lea lawa o mai tātou i taimi nei, tau sanga nei, ua se lawa le mea ua lea ngai mafau o tangata. Pei lao nei Amerika whai mai, easy studies whai mai, e mua atu i tangata e kaue e ne America minorities. They call us minorities. E silia kuai i a mai whapea wa leanga le ulu. So, and I don't know, but they studies and come out with that. Well, whai mai e sili aku mental health I ka ngaka e minority e pea lao kākou, maisi kungu laiki. O le mea la, o lo wala I loa iai I keimi langei, o le mafau o tātou, ua sui leanga ua ese le tele o mea ua waa iai, o mea ua o iai o ngā luenga, o ekalesia, o lako beliefs, o mea, different groups they belong, they all have decisions in that. And ole mea pikasili fo inga whai mai I le United States o whala au whaasaina, wa whaina ele tele o tupulanga. Ai mai se fo I tangata mātua, a o mea nā, sa le masani ai Samoa, ele aini whala au whaasaina whapena I Samoa I nā aso, a ua esene yaso ua iai mea wa leo o tātou lei lalo Amerika, tele mea Amerika wo atu I Samoa, ia wa iai fo le mental health I Samoa, wa lewa na iai. O ia o mental health la na o whalongo iai, o mental health o ka meiki wa whainga o ngā fuala au. So, o leisi ngā mafuanga e whapenga ai ka meiki. O kele filinga, mea o iai mafu whau. Ai mai se kako Samoa, ngai maua mai o lua, ai mai o whalawe, was stress ai kako. Awasonga, I fala vlavi I umala mea fua. It wasn't a big thing. It wasn't a big problem, but it's so different. Wa ese yasongai, aisea, langa wango fola kako, kangaka masui fainga. They changed things that we used to be in our island, in the place where we come from. When we come here, everything is wide open and everybody has freedom to choose whatever they want. But ol meanga wo ilo ma wai o sui e tonga ka Samoa le meanga ola mai ai Samoa wo o mai ngei ya wa ese e kale sia o iai si filinga pa penga o mai ngei wa kele mea fai poiponga maoki mea penga sa fai ngofia la vai Samoa ai ua ngofoa kangaka Samoa masui ia mea uma wa isi mea ile culture wa kupu ile stress ole meanga ole meanga le kauka kwa ya ole ke loa wa ilo mo wai wa sui Malaysia wa sui mai le olanga ngai ai tako le wo mai ngai America ya wa kelele wide open ole mafofau ele mea le maua se fale ngofoi le aingi ngā luenga le aingi resources mea whapenga o mea umanga ia I saulawa mai le mafofau le leile mafofau e whawasenga ai le kulanga e o ia kele whala lave tong whawasenga o le ale mea e la wakia pele ai pe mawhai pele ai le mea o iai kau mawhai a ki nganga ma kiwa lengkupe a wawhai a mea e le kakaunga o iai loa ngā wa ai iai I le mea lewa iai ngai kakau Samoa I ngai Amerika ia wa la ma iai mawhala au mea uma ia wa kele ai wa kili ai ngā stress ka maiki mai se lava kupulanga I aso ngai ia Malaysia mea ua wai fo iai o a inga wale maupopo family is not like when we were in Samoa. It's so different. Families are the parents are kind of stressed too where they can get the money they may kupe e kongele rent wa kelo kako makua wo mai ngai falangulango I fanga wa le fainga luenga so all those things add to it. Wa lainga kelele e mafakia o kako Samoa king all the culture ma le tradition of kako it wasn't so bad. Ele I mafapenga ya soria. Because we are coming in a different country, we live under different laws and different rules. But kako we were free. We live free back home, but it's so different. It's so sad, but we are to go on, keep on. But olo kalanga fayakun. I feel like I have a responsibility for the people, our people, because they are suffered. Like you said, here, they call us minority. We don't have much resources. A lot of our people don't understand the language between them and the systems. So they have difficulty to speak up. So a lot of those added to this life where our people are in. So that's why I wanted to do this, to educate our people, to learn how the system over here that affected them.
Yeah, that's true. That's the kind of
Yeah,
Tai lava siniva ala tu lava noia la king tai lava mole. Thank you, King, for tuning in. Miss Scarlett, I'll come back again to summarize what Miss Siniva was sharing. Thank you, dear. Yeah, King, Saunoa mai.
Yeah. lang maina mang tau se fo lo to pa ia ma lo to malu ma lo lava le se fo muia ia mana le a o you and face fa yanga fa malu luat de wa tau kope ale a le nga ia fa tai fa lo longo tu lava man manino ile for sanga o tau fa ia le mental health mental health somehow it kind of relate to cerebral intellectual mafo fo masalo ya fa pe ole tino le ole health for tino ole physical le tino ya masalo a tatu fa yo mental mafo fo mental health for mafo fo malo loina pe a ya e fa ya si la tele nai fa fo mai sungat fo mai e fa ya si la tele le fa mtala ino le me ole mental health tele fo yo na fiang ya fia it can be emotional it can be psychological fia fo social well-being o tangata te so start so fo ole le tau fa longo lava le if to na ile differentiate ole mental health ma le mental illness ole tau fa longo ato ole illness o fa fitauri ya tele fa fitauri tele fa fitauri fe ngai matato ese mai mali man mai e ta wa o ia fa fitauri o me mafua mai pe o ole depression so me ole aftermath o se me tulai mai ai o isi o mafua me a fia yeso fu tangata pe ole PTSD there wo post traumatic o whenga i tangata sa iei i le matu i a se whawhitauli nga whenga i ai. Masalo ai e whaiwhui pe ai. Nā e alala mele sungat fo mai ato tolon si ka whil ni mea. Can be panic disorder o leo tong whai tau tala atu ono le. O mea whenga i mau i lea onga. Se fu tau sanga whenga ia matamaiti with disabilities. Ie alako dyslexia se ese. Ya, ie tamaiti sa ungalua iai cerebral palsy a fia maso tino turou. Ai matua e whaka mai kiki a fia mon mafofau. Ya, mafua na uloa le a fia mafofau ta mai kiki sa senga valu merka mai kiki senga fiku mfain sa vali whale aonga. Senga sfutasi loka mai kiki senga sfuru senga sfutasi vakula skuru go toiei. Walu ka mai kiki wheelchair. Te ngaila mata mai kiki wa yei masuinga mafofau ta mai kiki. Wa limit ale mafofau ta mai kiki. Ya, ole wa kudkudi amo so wa lo mun muria mafua mai a fia ta mai kiki ono shon tinali ile yele manava o shon tinatu lo ya ole history del ka mai kiki no o fainga o mo ni fainga man malama i disabilities esse o tamai te fe ngai ma u le on ya ye fu tamai te bipolar. Ye foi tam ia o le tam foi fam tala o le pa fitauli o le mafo fau fa fitauli ese fe ngai ma matamiti o le malosi nei ata tu Samoa o lo ye nei tuila e ye le fo ma en mafo fau nei tuila I fanga alu ya o lo nga solo mai ai sunga fo mai ale o se fiti o mai o I Amerika ya tala to ye ai ni whatever na ngadu fo nei isi o sanga du nei ya o nga ia tu fo Samoa o tangata fapitoa mo le mafo fau ya ole o lo mai tau de me Pea na bat, whai asi tele o awhia. Whai asi tele o awhia. Pea o mea tutupu. Ia o tātou lo taua lewhea ngai ma. Manei vai tau. So with history, throughout history, it really affects le soifua o along whanau o au saawina tu taua. Ia lea i ele whawhitau. O mea o te whawhitai e lea mea le PTSD. O te whawhitai le tū. Tele o whanau fo i mai taua i nei tuila. Ele o ia se te mai hiki i kuila whapea o fo i mai taua ua suicidal. Lea ia se tama hiki nei sa mo wa matu wa tamana o ia amata mai ala amatanga o taua le. Le person cough le wa to amata le taua. Le wa mai ni le fa solo mai o mai. Ele o ia se Samoa i nei tuila te fo i mai. Whapea ua suicidal. O ua o se tūranga matu ia o mwhai ona whatama ia lona a inga pe whanonglonga ti whafo i Amerika. Fo i mai le tangata mai taua ia tupo e no whalawalawe i nei o lato taito luam nei o lato whana. Whatama ia o la ai. Au te rei loa pe iei se upbringing e mafua man upbringing o tātou o masangi Samoa e. Whaewe. Kukalinga me uma matua. Whakongu ke mi uma. Ia tātou tānoa whātār sua telo keni ngai tātou whanau ma. Ka maiki. Ia o makoa e whaifa pikoa le amo e. Whakongu oi ka mai makoa a makola iki pēsi se. Ia e pe ia ieilo na positive effect in lea mea winga lo tala. O masangi ele mawhau o le Samoa le. I me whapea me tu. Ia o wao ina fo ia uia kuranga whawhaia. O ngā manmene ka koe le mamalaman ngā. Ai a mawhai on tātou instill mawhawhauka mai kiki ia ngangu ia nan. E ume wha masinga woroka mai kiki ngangu wang le ako pesparangi. Ia lesi nā whawhita auri ia lau vai. Sau e male package la ea wa. Ole kaku karia ingo mei o mawhawhau e ka mai kiki whaparangi. Adapt e ka mai kiki i le lifestyle ma winga ia. Ia a mea umai o whapopo i e dau langa whasamoa e sa alienated tātou o langa i le masani e tātou o langa. Lea lau tau fu whakasi tātou o ngi mau mea. Whapopo i e maisi mea. Alu fatasi e matka vidinga lalangi melo langa i mea fau i asa unga masinga fau wai leo tātou te wa aia dea ka milo lalang. E anga i ala i duma mea uma. Tātou te wa aia i suinga fau. Tātou ki expectai i fau i mea fau kura i mai. So se mea lava. Yeah, o la ua lea tala whai au. Lau staff, there is always infallibility. So se mea. So se mea tau whai tangata i a whai ato toa, lem whai ato toa, lem whai perfect. Yeah, whitai runga runga sisi desi. Yeah, ato toa me umai a ao 4-4 le ali siri na i a whai me uma. A ole, tangata male, le tātou o langa. E tātou te wawa ai mea e. E whai ona whaale leia. Whai ona whaale leia ina ia ma whai ona a ngā i ruma. Ole. Inei am ni ki tuila. E se au wa aista ngata matua wherua i la wala, le tiki wherua i se a wala whapea whale tonu mawhawha. Inei tuila. O, leo utawa ai nei wau. Walako, siria ma 5 sanga lo langa o keola ni kuilo. Ia nei tangata mātua mali liwa mai o Samoa, mai ngi kuila, ak foi na kuila ngi o Samoa. Ia le, whawhita auri nā han mawhawhau whai mai e. Ua whale tonu mawhawhau. Ia la te mai o lai loa isi mea. They're able to perceive, they're able to explain things. E tu o ki e 5 ka le kala, e kau le kango le kala. They hardly take that $1 bill. And if you give them that $5 bill, because they can see the differences between the 5 tala and 10 kala, male kala kasi. So they're able to perceive. O lesi mea leo lo ngai ia matu ni tutuina. Ya e pe i fōringa e sian mele e sin process e sin mai dia kau ka ko mai. Ya o i fo isi mai e ku pe kau maria mionga pe a kere law restriction na matua o so wala ia fa mai kau le fa mai e ku wala nga ia ku ko e ma ko le liberty wala te tala ia loai ia wa pa ngan me kene. Ya kere law sunga fo mai pongi mai ma fo mo la ia me. Ya lo na ba ai nei me lo i ta tu ni tuila. Ole ye is senga ai faftai mo lo no.
Time or Saunoa. Thank you so much. Thank you, Miss Geneva. She was sharing the generational mental health. That was really touching, and that's some of the base that she was sharing with us. And not only that, King was trying to share out while he was sharing his profession, more than 10 years that he was being a teacher for the children, disability children. And it was very touching that he was sharing what is updating nowadays is happening in Tutuila. But I have a hand, it's on, am I right, Mr. Seeley? Ainga? O wai atu I lau lima, ainga? E unmute you follow lau microphone mon mole. I sound no mai po last no.
What, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh yeah, faftai. Faftai lupe, faftai atu ile invitation na maya yasniva. Ai o lengo o ainga. O for your listing for my retire. Yeah. O mental health. Tiroto. If I yasina to atele no to alua ya tamasa mosa o tausia falma ile no retire mai. Eto atasi la na ikimiti no tausia floa. Ai ol meno over ai ile tamalea. Maweta tol tal fanga pema e fatanga fa valvalea. Ai e valea moi. E loa le ngoa lea. Ia me down the fight. Wai loa ele tamalea o Samoa. Ya e fa alo mai atau ile faiania na winga. Ai alwese loa ai ai na tin for mai o le atunu. Ya ona alu la ia faiana anga pi fa valvalea. Ya wo tilo ala ia. Wo tal fa Samoa ia. Ma wai una o mai o this time wa call code wa foi wa osol mai o kama o la alu e te fasita ngata ma leo wo mai lole ya leo fa long mai leo o le tal fa Samoa le ngoa lea ya fa mai lo ya security tau fa ia a toi tu pus me fa pea o le am tua sai en moenga ya no ta no le ia fa Samoa fa mai ele toi tu pa ya se me fa mai okay mama e tere la tuinga mai on mafafau ia ta ula vai o ten fo mai wo vai ia tangata o le mai on mafafau moni o le tele o fuala au wa tili ai ata awa ai nei in me fang fuala o follow name nei tangata oka wa over fuala au la tawia ai tato te pai foi tato anganu e tu sa ma pe wo kava mai sliva isi mea e tu sa leim lo ma fa wo mai tato America wo te le ama swing o le olanga o tato wo mai America le tupen mea uma o le sila e me wa fa ina ma fa o tangata a te le lo fa la lave ai le lava tupe ai al soi fuanga ia wa fia ma fa ai o le mea moi ia tato wa ia Samoa o lo common sense fa nga afa pe wa e lo e wo tere fa lave ia eleo fai mo lo wa inga ai do lo valo la ku pe yo fai el fa lave ia ngo me foi le kuli o le se mete no foi o common sense fa nga ia awa wa so nei le bota to lo mo tanga ta le olanga o le mai mo ia le mafofa ia Dr. Fumaona knows i le meta o tanga ta modi i wa fai e mawal mafofa wa mai no mafofa au disi foi mea o fuala au to me in my own experience o fuala au tele fuala au involved it follow it tangata o side effects o fuala au peona ta umai e tamale na umatu ne ya tau wai e Vietnam Persian Gulf. E sa o te ova ai ili Samoa o lo te toa i nei Amerika ua mawela e mea ole pure leola. Ole taimi nei. U fau mai. O tupulanga leo mai tupulanga la itile wo mai new generation nea. E wo mai ia mea. Wa tele la faina ono tangata o tang oisi o peers. Tangata la i lato tafatafa. Wa mawai mea na. Ya o le sifo i tūlanga e vai ai o tonu la inga i le matua. O whapewhia le matua. O isi me wa vai ai o le homeless i Samoa. E o ni rotu nei whanau. Te le a mea a fia ai le mawhau o tangata. A tātou wai a Samoa. Whamai a tātou o le atua. Whaavai tātou o langa i le atua. A e maalosi i le atua. A e maalosi te talo. O ina e mawailo ita iala mo tātou, mo tangata Samoa lava ia. O le atua e arua ai te mawhawhau whai mai, a maolo o e ma le atua, o mea ia o mai i o tangata. E le na o tangata ia mai nei, ma o ma tātou problems nei. E tap te loa, e o lo te mi o ma tātou ma le atua, i o tele problems e o mai. To e fo i tua, whai le te talo, so ani mai le atua i a tātou. O tupe, nei tangata e wha mua tupe. A wha mua tupe, ia o me mawa o tiko, a wa wha mua tupe, e wha mua le atua, o me nanta to wola mai ai Samoa. Dr. Fimaono o matua o whaiwhi au. Taun tato ilo uma. I think all of us, e tato numa tato le atua. O me la lea, ia te awa ia, e ia mai moni o le mawhawhau. A oisi mea ia o mai nei, o le tangata lava ia. O le tangata ia e ala na tupu ai, o le vai alo na ia, common sense e whai pulan me taun whaonga. A wale alu ave umakupe whai whalawlawe, whai momolo wa inga. Ia whawhetai la vadi lute.
Then we're all sharing out, Miss Scarlett. Basically, Miss Ainga was also sharing out to the problem for generational mental health that Miss Neva was sharing. That because of the money, ever since they came here in America, they have a different lifestyle that they were creating. Also for the fall of the lavish or things that for our culture usually being done back in the days. Nowadays, we have families changing the way they wanted to have. And that's some of the things that they changed the structure of how our culture was used to be back in the days and now in the days. And the reason why they got softer, the way they experience by seeing it is that they do it because of the money that they see. And not only that, it's because of how they structure things in their way of how they live, based on what they have in their surroundings. And like what Mr. King was sharing as well, for his time of his service, that with disability children with different dyslexias that they're being through with these children, he has to adjust himself and try to focus on to what this and how it costs. And he'd been witness for so many things that's happening back in Tutuila, that he was so grateful and thankful of, that it's not really serious. For also for the example for the people that or the veterans or our soldiers or Samoan sons of Samoans that joined the army or the military, when they come back, it was so thankful that he does not witness anybody committing suicide or taking their life, excuse the language of how he was sharing. But main cause is how the mental illness is different from the mental health. And he wanted to share and then also to express his thought that it's a very difficult situation for us to deal with mental illness, because it's all by choice of people, how they live unto. And I wanted to ask you, please, to introduce yourself again, since Ms. Geneva and Mr. King had joined us now, because your profession is one of the best of our platform that we have here with Dr. Malik, that's helping us, our Samoan community here in Washington, so that they can know as well, because as Ms. Geneva and all our veterans nurses that are, our retired nurses are doing as well in our community. So please, Ms. Scarlett.
I am Scarlett Ekaroma. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and a boundaries coach, and I provide therapy services in Washington State, Georgia, and Florida. And so I've been in this field for 10 plus years. And so I think being in this field, it's definitely interesting, especially me seeing more Samoans in my practice and how to really bring together the generations of what's really going on. And so, because a lot of what I talk about within my practice with Samoans that I see is how do we add on to the culture and not necessarily change it, because that's part of who we are, but how can we make it to where we still honor that, honor ourselves, and honor our families? So that's just a short and general about who I am.
Thank you. Suma Fimono.
Ia whakataitele mo le saunoanga tina matama wo na whaalonga ia pa i o Samoa. Ia pe o te tala no we fast food o tau sanga no wala fi Samoa ia o mātua. So lao ke agri a se viva ele generation gap le ai pe o le mafuanga foi le kupulanga lalo va o Samoa le ele mamalama i le kupulanga le ka ko makua ia ka ko kua. Okay, agree o kelo o le problem le ka ko Samoa o nga wo mai Samoa ai wo ese pe wo ola le olanga fa parangi ma lo langa fa America pe wo le ko sisika ko makua i ka ko menga ola fa Samoa le loku ia fa da fiafi so me ka me kipo fe me fe le loku ia pe na mai ai ia o ko ma le fe au le loku iki Samoa o ola ai fe le loku ia o ola fo kinga le ainga kinga i mo ka i po ia o le mea lava lenga ia e whenga kāle o langa ai ngā whamoe lava i le kakalo ia ma whakua ngā mākua. But, you know, o le statement lenga ia mai kingi le kako uso ma ku whawhinge o mirkeli o mai PTSD. E rei masisi whape o pule reola. O kai kongo o ke rongan mafuanga o ngā o le maalosi o le ainga. The family unit in Samoa. Like I said before, though, when I went to medical school, I have to ask my Barangi friend, like, what's depression? You know, okay, they do Baranga mea. Wa ga ko ola i Samoa, a fa be fanga ngorga ka. Ya fa be ya, pa wa o le fanga o ka ofisia. Ya lo ia o langa nga ye. Okay, they va ai ka fa be depressed. So when I came for medical school, I have to have them explain to me what that is. Say follow o langa o ola i Samoa. Isa wa fanga o ka o sa so wa ka fa E mafua mai la, I think it's because of the family. E isi si pape o kongo la inga la ufunga nga ia. Besi la fia e ko kere kaka i kongo fale. Ia rea ma se si funga le alu lafi isi ko fale le roa ngi si po a meo fai. E si li funga le o mai. Ma sa vola ia kakanua. I feel like Scarlett could agree with what I'm saying, you know, that we need to open communication. You know, we Samoan, especially Samoan, man, we hold our feelings inside. I feel like that's part of the reason why we saw more, because of the warrior culture. You know, we don't share our feelings. But you know, drugs, le pia or le alcohol. Come fight for ngale if a four la ko onga ile mafaela ko fa upu mai me o pupunga ki ira ko. I feel like we need to go back to our culture. We need to go back to our family. And I'm really, really proud of my culture, because I have to explain to other people that we don't have depression in Samoa. If you go to the pharmacy in Samoa, you can't find an antidepressant, because we as a culture, though, is really the cure, though. And I think having that family support, going back to our roots and the family, right? I feel that's where we could handle the frustration that our people go through. But then we need to be clear, though, that we don't blame people who have mental health because it is the disease. So I'm very careful with what I'm saying that you need to snap out of it, because really, though, Charlotte could tell you, though, she's seen people who really, really have depression, anxiety, and all this mental health that we need professional help, though. That means our family cannot provide that cure, though. But for people who are under stress, you know, anxiety, because of everyday thing, we need to bring the family and support them. right? Once they can't get that help from the family, then you need to see Scarlett or see somebody like me who could really diagnose what's wrong with you and then maybe provide medication. Sometimes medication doesn't help, but therapy, like through talking with Scarlett, though, those are the people, those are the ways we could deal with some of this emotional stuff, though. So I feel like,
Yes,
kalosia yo whaalongo mai se ku whawhinge po se uso fo i nge po kala me ro mawhikia. Ia ka mawhai I whaalongo mai I ko leua wakungi upufronga le ka mawhai help ia o ko. Hopefully Scarlett will get a few people calling her because I really feel like she's the person who, in terms of mental health, ia wa o kelenga mawai ia fo mai suka ma o ko maurunga. I feel so good feeling Scarlett. This is really what she does really well. So I think people need to first go back to the family, right? Go to church. It's very important because we all are people of faith. And then number 3, very important, to open your communication.
But how do you do that? So question for you, Dr. Poimayono. Yeah. So I'm first generation American. My dad was straight Samoan. I did my vows. I did everything I was supposed to do, but I would not talk to him. Like other than, hey, do this, do that. But I wouldn't say, hey, Dad, I'm not feeling good. I feel like I'm depressed. It's like, how do Samoans in our generation reach out to their parents who they're scared of? I was scared of my dad. He passed away, but I never would sit down and have a conversation like this with my dad. We get lectures a lot.
So, Cindy, you're talking exactly of, because I have kids on my own now, and I'm dealing with the same problem. I try to teach them what my parents taught me, like how to discipline them, and they talk to me like that. This doesn't work.
Yeah,
it might work with you in the islands, but it doesn't work here. So my suggestion, we are on my own personal experience. We need to talk to them in a way that they understand where we come from. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean like I have the lecture and everything exactly word for word what my dad telling me. Then my kids will understand. Because the thing is, it's not fair to them because they grew up in America. Yeah. So we have to use the right approach, not the sasa way, or don't talk back to me, because that's what I've been told though. Don't talk back to your elders. Yeah. So we grew up in the thinking that once I give that lecture to my kid, they will listen to me though. No, this is a whole different generation though. Right. That we need to, as parents, learn new skills on how to communicate with them. I'm pretty sure Scarlett has a way of doing that. But I feel like what's worked for us in the island does not work for our kids here, though. We really need to change that approach and that attitude, though, because really, though, they don't deserve. They don't understand when we say things in Samoan, or they automatically understand though that when I talk, you stop though. So that's what I was taught though. My kids though will talk back to me. They have an opinion though. So I need to, first of all, Scarlett, I hope you will add into this. We need to listen to our kids. Right. We need to allow them to talk to us. So the way I grew up though, really though, it's like, don't say anything, you get over it. So thank God I got through that. But this is a new generation though. So we definitely need new skills, new approach to how we need to communicate. But at the end of the day though, we need to tell them that we love them, right? Because if you don't say that enough to your kids though, they will assume though that you don't though. So Scarlett, I'm kind of curious what you think about this question.
So I think with absolutely what you're saying, but I think we have to take it back to teaching in the language of what to say. So for example, if you're not you have to really teach your kids what feelings are. And so actually know the difference between talking back and opinion. So for example, if you ask a kid, how are you feeling? You have to sometimes sit with that and really sit with what they're saying, because sometimes it might be about what you did to them too. Yeah. And so that's not a sign of disrespect. That's because they're just answering the question that you asked. Now the tone they use will make a difference. So that's really the key, is really talking about like, what are feelings? What's actually going on inside? Tell me what you think. And so, because a lot of times we ask our kids, when kids get into a pickle or something goes wrong, one of the first things we say was like, why didn't you come tell me? And so, but if you haven't created that space for them or shared with them the language of how to share that, they won't do it. They can only do what you teach them. So the biggest thing I would definitely say, especially in our Samoan culture, is really talking about how do we teach our kids to talk about feelings. It's really, really important because that's the thing that always comes up. It's a feeling. A feeling is attached to
action. Yeah.
So you have to, and those go hand in hand. They're not separate. They actually go hand. And the other thing is there can be more than one feeling that you can feel, and they have to sit and think with and sit with that. So I always recommend, especially when I see Samoans or when I do talks like this, I always recommend everybody Google search a feelings wheel. There's several. You can literally feel. A study that I read a long time ago said that you can actually feel up to 32,000 emotions. That's a lot. So when people say to me, I don't know what I'm feeling, I'm like, all right, I believe you. Let's look at this feelings wheel. Because when you have that resource and you have that tool, it makes it easier to identify, and you can say why you're feeling that way. So that's what I would add to that.
I just want to say though that when I talk to my kid though, especially like one of my daughter recently, I said, I'm not angry at you. I'm angry at the behavior you did. Right? It's making sure that we're not saying that you're a bad person, but what you did is pretty bad, right? And then backing up on Scarlett though, that we really need to teach our kids how to express their feeling, because I heard though that if people don't articulate what they're feeling, they resort to violence. What's happening is that we use violence to express what we feel though. If you don't label that emotion, then we Samoans, we end up getting the belt or whatever, right? Because we don't know how to articulate that though. The only thing we know how to discipline them is through sasa and everything. And trust me, my kids know what sasa is. So
yeah.
Just real quickly, when it comes to anger, anger is a secondary emotion. So typically what I talk about is like, we have to identify what that initial emotion is. So for example, Dr. Malik, it may have been you're initially frustrated. So it's just like, I always encourage the clients to be like, say that initial feeling, because when you don't address that initial feeling, then it gets up to anger, and then the anger goes to violence, and it goes to sasa. And so that's why it's always important to identify what that first feeling is, which can be annoyance, frustration, irritation, whatever it may be, because it's very important to identify what that is.
And that leads up to our fourth questions that links all of this together, because of the fact of the ages. Because like Siniva was mentioning, for the generational, I've seen a lot of the young youth that is going through a lot of that mental illness in the mind, and they have seeking so many help, try to come and find help for the way to talk to the people, because their parents cannot adjust themselves talking to them. So then, even though we give them your info and things like that, but they cannot activate it until the parents are there. So, but now we have Mr. Chile and Mr. Malik, that we've going to send it to Mr. Malik, and Malik's going to refer it to you, which is a good thing for that chain of work. I'm going to ask for our question number 5, because now we're kind of touching bases onto the for the cure to help our inner Samoan community. Is there a cure for our service? Since that Dr. Malik was bringing up to go back to our families and some of the steps for sharing back to your families. But I have a question onto that point. If you're stating that we have to go back to our families, and there are some of the Samoan youth that are afraid of go back in their families because it's what's happening in their families. And that's also that triggers their minds and their choice making for not continue to work. But then they became homeless. So what can you suggest it? How can help out those young youth? And I know that Ms. Scarlett are ready for the answers, but I want everybody else to bring out some answers out from that, please. Dr. Maliki can jump in and then run on everybody in one time. Saunoa mai, sorry, what do you want to look out?
I'd like to ask you, Sungaya Fimono, Sungaya Scarlett, if contextualizing is effectively in Mela with mental issues.
Facility
or contextualizing.
Charlotte, can you answer that?
What's the question?
Can we
So
contextualize mental health? Can we better describe it? Is that what you're asking, King?
Yes. I've seen a lot of old folks here in American Samoa that they experience mental problems.
Like
And
dementia?
yet they grew up in the families. Olai olai tono ainga. Care ainga, umalato soifu, olai care ainga. So my question here, how come they're not cured of our pele o I kaunga ise suinga ono lai tono ainga? O ngei am nika Samoa minga lau tala ke rewa aiska magi. O kanka uma fale tonu ma fofo fere la wala I wala e maya lako ainga piki tunga kam pon ma keki po fe me yei le tangata matua piki ko e ko avet fat. They take good care of these people. O me ma fo no fe atu care le le tangata nei. Because they wear good clothes. They're clean every day. Every time you meet, you see them wearing clean clothes. They're not excuse me, filthy all the time. You don't want a wala pero si kanga kay an le menga ko fia ni lo lang tato Samoa. So my question is lang le fe mai on le kaunga malosi ainga le kiwa. A o ni kuila le kelele le mai le tangata matua I ola se fo ngi male fa fitau dia. Ola tau se la tu ainga. O mena le ringa bakula fasidi famon mo.
Ia pero lo fam talanga ia fo ila inga ia pen si lo fia ngi Amerika e kelo kanka ia mai ma fo fa e le ka si a inga. Pe o mai kula fo I falma I ma psychiatric unit fo ngani. Kusa mena nga lo statement e fa ku fo ila inga ia I kam fai ka ko I Amerika ka si pe ka kanka. Wa o ka ko Samoa ia ka si le Samoa. Pa I kukuila la peira o le facility. Isa o le family. But unfortunately, it o ye resources here available in America po Scarlet. Peira o le menga la misi Samoa. Isa o lo ira ingo kausia. Le o ye ira le ke le o resources here mo ngi kai pe ka like Scarlet I fola au fengale. Ya I fo ya ke lo ko inga ka fenga no fo songi ngai fa ngau ye wa fai ngal ma fo fau ngal pa le ku so ste me langa I ka ku sa mo ye ku la fo ka ye ko fo ida inga a ku ku ila ya pe ida e finga ka ki kila le menga o ngai le ka singa la inga e pe yo ngai le o lo mangu ia le ia ngai fanga ya I think o lo kali menga o le resources ke le ngamo ngi Amerika ye mangu ia ke lo komiki ku salila ko ma el ma fo fau de sa mo
Yeina fafka ya sunga fo mai mangai kele lo fa so mai.
Yeah.
An ya nga kele mo a ule ngandua ngi ni. O ki ali ka ngi lo fiso o ngai te ngai matamiti ese fa fitau dises. Yei sia finge yei fa ngau le yei ke o pai pola. No swing on move the swing on the wing or the mighty coming in the next time few minutes go approach it actually. So what thing I will fight them with ole but fakan wa ko maki ime fo ngi ka ko Samoa e mama la me ko maki ki o I American me wa ko maki ngi ole fa fo lo lang yeah or mena le mo wa ngi maki they get to ask a lot of questions. Lan melia, to what's this, what's that? Yeah, or it takes a lot of time you get with mama lama ima. Yeah, ang saulan lungki nga fay may. Wala lang sau tak ile siya fay fofo wa niya nga pounder kung fay isid men mafofo ya o ngi violent ta may titipaw ba yak wa mak ng yele suwing ole abi ole attitude da. Mafuala no fo fisidi o nga pe fay. Wa leo of ese mai ole le langa fa Amerika le ma fo palang dia ka ko mai ku ma fo fa Samoa makang ku ye le langa fa Samoa ko fa aku ngo nga maka le ye fa che afiangan I whape me whapea batu never that inga makuri visiri sunga for mai kele lua sita fia man le loi
Yeah. So ole mai le bipolar ya e pe ngai au se fia e ke me depressed e ke me wo manic wo over le fia ma ke le energy me whapea usa e mafu mai o le pa lengi o mo chemicals I le mafu fau
The brain.
ai pa lengi le me ia usa e le ongi afianga fonga le la inga posime le environment unfortunately it's a problem with the brain and that's why like in America we have lots of medications we can use though yo ka make yo ka kama ko mo bipolar vai in America ni onga ka mo mai ma fo so unfortunately, you know, I grew up in Samoa and now I'm a doctor in the US, though. I know the resources is not there, though. So, you know, I would really like to help the kids back home, though. I wish I had resources to kind of bring some of the specialists to see the kids back there. But there's a lot of resources in the US, though, for disabled kids, though. But I'm hoping that you will continue the good work you're doing. I know that you're doing the best you can with what you have, though. But but yeah, kung fo yo o lo whanga o longo mai ngisi o lo whainga se soangi ka ko I Samoa ka whanga o I mo yeah e mga o mia la se soangi but you know it would take forever for us to kind of describe each mental unit pero kala e lave mga upure ka kan mo ai pai e whamalo kia o lava king I lo ngalwenga le o lo whai whanga o mahalo Samoa.
Niva?
Yes. Thank you. Saulea Saunoa le sunga le formai ya alisi nga fika ulikele I akako I Samoa unga olele ayongi resources ya whankala lenga ai sawa ilo fisili la wo kausi le ainga ai se ala me le malosi ai ya la wo kalia kul formai ul ya ile me ala ele pa le le brain ya ilinga ngale o kiwa e need some type of medication to kind of calm it down and started to work the process and then they can talk to the kids or the person so that they can calm that down. I meanga si mele we are very generational gap. So it's very difficult. If I nga suso o mea ia langa ole mea wo o ia ka ko le ngai wo separate le ainga la fai mai le for my the family is not there. That's the most important thing. Ole mea le ka kom ka upu le ka big ceiling ka wa male leanga o makole e fafole community we saw a lot of stuff very neat, not only one thing but a lot of things that they need, not just one, medical, everyday life things. The family is not there. Our upbringing, for me, I'm an old timer, as I said. They teach us what they know at the time. And the thing that we don't answer back. That's a part of our parenting that I do not agree, because these kids here are different. It's okay for us, see, even that hard kind of life that in that part don't answer back, but we are coming okay. I'm fine. Dr. Malik has a good life, but that is up to the child, the person as they grown up. But that's a part of our parenting that is very difficult for generation today. Don't talk back. just do what we said. So lots of expectations in our upbringing, in the old timer. But see, we are coming good. We're good. So it works for some of us. I would say most of us that are upbringing in that, because we know our parents instilled that to us, then we understand. But like Dr. Malik said, he's trying to raise her kids the way he was raised, but it doesn't work here. It doesn't work at all because it's totally different generation, different time, different things, different drugs, different treatment. But I'm glad that Scarlett is here, and I really wanted to work together with you because we are a lot of our people that really needs help. That I can't handle it, me and Lupe, just me and Lupe, but we need some help for our community that are struggle.
Thank you, Niva. Yeah, ona ta wai atu tatou taimi. Yeah, watu pela nganga whaftai. A watu le nganga whaftai a o tō sunga e meise fo i whatum posi. E tu sai fo e mole nea fiafi e Saunoa mai o la o tō whina ngalo. Ona mtata es o lo tō whaafeanga iai i la o tō taimi whai. Mla o tō tiute tau ave tau tuaina mara o unanga mo tātou tangata nuu. Whaftai tele mo la o tō tau tua. And most of all, I wanted to say thank you very much to each and every one of you, our panelists, and also for our invitees that was joining us today, Mr. Seeley. I know our time is up, and I really appreciate each and every one of you because of the different professions that you're all serving our community, and I really say thank you so much. But my takeaway for today, I wanted everybody, because I have a group of people as well, and the young youth, that they're listening, even though that we did not mention yet the hotline, but we just started the hotline for one of the suicidal hotline that we have. Before you make dial 988, remember, we have a 111, the triple ones that are connected to us to connect to profession, and we can get through it to Ms. Scarlett. And the reason why Dr. Malik is so helpful as well in this meeting we have or talk, because if you don't feel good in that mindset of yours that we cannot find Scarlett at the time, yeah, you need to go make an appointment to see Mr. Malik for what's happening to your body, and you need to have that so you can have easy access to see Miss Scarlett. But anyhow, I really appreciate each and every one of you for sharing your experience and also your profession with us. And I thank you all for today and this evening. Do you want anything else before we close up?
Yeah, I just want to say this has been a very productive conversation, and the conversation will continue. So we are going to focus on rental help and housing stability for our next Samoan conversation. But I want to bring this group back because I know there's going to be more questions. And I know folks are going to be pressing on kind of that older generation, right? So, again, I was that kid who grew up with a strict dad. I mean, I knew if I went to a family thing or a falavelave, I had to put on the ear and serve the elders because that's what I was taught growing up. But when I tell my little half white kids to do that, they kind of look at me crazy and say, I'm going to eat first. I'm hungry. Actually, no, we serve our elders first. That's how the Samoan culture goes. Mm-hmm. But it's really trying to figure out how to make that blend, right? How to, marry both cultures, because as folks are saying on this call, both are important. But I do want to bring this group back, maybe hopefully in a couple of months. I'll work with Netta and Sylvia. So we really want to thank the Voices of the South Pacific for providing this platform that we can continue to have these Islander talks and conversations. But thank you so much to everybody, and we will give you the rest of your night back. We appreciate all of you on this call.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Scarlett. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.